Mike, you wanted to come in quickly?
You were asking about the Belonga issue, but there is another issue which is affecting a number of people who were born illegitimately, with a father from the British Overseas Territories, and have a status which is not the same as people born more recently. I know that a number of questions have been asked in the House of Lords about this, and also I think the Joint Committee on Human Rights also sent a statement, a report of some kind to the government. And Lord Ahmed, I wonder if you could give us a sense of, is there any progress on resolving that issue?
Well, I think, as I said earlier to the Chairman as well, I think we are raising these issues directly with the respective overseas territories. In terms of a long-term resolution, it's very clear that they want to be able to move on this at their speed and at their behest, because they regard this matter, whilst it's specific, and I understand the nuance of what you've asked, they still regard that as a matter which is devolved and for them to take forward directly themselves.
Some of these individuals are in a not very good position because of this, and their status is unclear, and it's been going on for several years. Isn't it time we resolve this? Did you raise it at the Joint Ministerial Council?
It wasn't raised in the wider agenda, but these matters have been discussed in the bilateral meetings during the Joint Ministerial Council week. Whilst there is the general agenda, we also have bilateral meetings with the respective territories, and that's where these specific issues are raised. What I may suggest, Mr. Gapes, if there are specific cases, I'm quite happy to take forward quite specifically if there are particular cases, and because of the nature of the relationship I have and the officials have, I'd be quite happy to follow up, but I add the caveat that they feel very strongly that such issues do constitute a devolved manner and that they should be moving on.
Can I, sorry, forgive me, just jump in for 1 second. The 1981 British Nationality Act is an act of the UK Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it devolved? In what way is it devolved?
On the issue of belonga status.
No, citizenship.
You're talking about citizenship.
But you're right as far as I can't dispute the act. I'm not sure when the cases.
I'm not sure. I
think Mr. Gapes was talking about citizenship by defence.
Yeah, look, I'll give you a specific example. For Montserrat, you can qualify British Overseas Territory citizenship of Montserrat if your parent is a mother of a legitimate or illegitimate child, but only if your father was of a legitimate child. So if the father is in a different position, and that therefore affects a child born in that relationship, and it therefore is discriminatory, and the Human Rights Committee Joint Committee has raised it with the government, and that does relate back to the legislation, but it is interpreted within Montserrat in that way. And that's the point. There are individuals whose status cannot get the British Overseas Territories status because of the fact, the accident of birth.
Yeah, if I may,
please.
Both to Mr. Gapes, my understanding is it's an issue, you're quite right, has been raised. I know Home Office colleagues are looking at this issue, but because of the technical nature of that, may I, if there are specific cases...
But you can write to us.
I will write, excuse me, I will write to you, but I am aware, as I said, it's being looked at by our colleagues in the Home Office, but I will write to you because it's quite specific categorisations you're talking through, and I think it's best I write in this respect.
And well, I had just to say, I have an email from a man in New York. I'm not going to give his name, who refers to him at the end of his email. He says, "A child, now an adult of descent, born out of wedlock to a British parent of Montserrat."
Okay.
It would be
noted,
and he asked me to raise this issue.
and I've noted, and we will respond.